Joining us now is Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Genix.
Good morning, Dr. Abati.
How was your weekend?
It was excellent. How was yours?
Yeah, good.
Great. Good morning, Tundu.
Morning, Oji.
How are you? Great,
good,
great.
thanks.
The weekend was fantastic.
I'm so glad.
Yes. Good morning, Rufai.
Oji, how are you? How's
Very
your
well.
weekend? Good?
Very well, thank you. Good morning.
We're blue again today. Blue.
We're exchanging memos all the time.
Yes. Dr. Abati, hope you are hearing.
No, he didn't hear that.
He's wearing blue paisley. It counts.
Okay, Ojineka, take charge.
As always.
Enough of color analysis.
Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe. In the United States, following recent moves by European museums to return art treasures to Nigeria, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York last week says it will be sending 3 objects back to the country. 2 of the works, a pair of 16th century Benin court brass plaques of a warrior chief and junior court official, were donated to the museum in 1991. While the third, a 14th century Ife head, was recently offered to the museum for purchase. And a mystery bidder has paid a whopping $28 million for a seat on Amazon founder Jeff Bezos' first crewed spaceflight by his Blue Origin company to space. The winning bid was made at an auction over the weekend after the bidding process attracted offers from more than 140 countries. Then, Michael Parkard, a 56-year-old professional lobster diver who was swallowed by a humpback whale off the coast of Cape Cod over the weekend, survived the incident after the mammal spat him back out moments after he was swallowed. In Australia, scientists have confirmed the discovery of a new dinosaur species, the southern titan, one of the largest found in the world. The dinosaur is said to be as long as a baseball court and roamed the earth about 96 million years ago. In Saudi Arabia, the government has restricted Muslims across the globe to perform the Hajj in the kingdom for a second consecutive year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 1442 Hajj will now be limited to only 60,000 residents and citizens from within the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In Israel, the removal of Benjamin Netanyahu as the country's prime minister after 12 years in power tops the trend. In Zambia, reactions trailed after President Edgar Lungi collapsed on Sunday during the 45th Defense Force Day commemoration and investiture ceremony. In Nigeria, protesters gathered across the country over the weekend to register their frustrations with President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in commemoration of June 12th, Democracy Day. Finally, under sports, Nigerian wrestler Odundayo Adekuroye wins the gold medal at the United World Wrestling Championship in Poland over the weekend. And Nigeria's Israel Adesanya remains the king of UFC middleweight division. Adesanya defeated Marvin Vettori by a unanimous decision in Glendale, Arizona, winning 50-45 on all 3 judges' scorecards. Well, congratulations to Israel and Nigeria. Well, let's begin what's trending with reactions to President Muhammadu Buhari's address on Democracy Day. Many Nigerians have shared mixed reactions, especially with regards to the president's claim that his administration has lifted 10.5 million Nigerians out of poverty in the last 2 years. Let's take a quick playback before we take a reaction.
In the last 2 years, we lifted 10.5 million people out of poverty. Farmers, small-scale traders, artisans, market women, and the like. I am very convinced that this 100 million target can be met, and this informed the development of a national poverty reduction with growth strategy.
Let's take a comment from Arinze Chukwu, who wrote, "How could you have lifted 10.5 million Nigerians out of poverty while unemployment Inflation and insecurity have displaced people and their businesses. The destruction of farmlands and killings of farmers are at their highest level ever. Buhari, mathematics is not an opinion. I mean, this is the rhetoric Tundu everywhere. But, you know, the president disclosed that his administration disbursed 5,000 naira to 1 million Nigerians using a rapid response register and an advanced 20,000 naira to 750,000 beneficiaries of the conditional cash transfer program, and provided 1.37 million Nigerians with palliatives from COVID. If you recall that. So a lot of Nigerians are asking, how is it how did that equate to 10.5 million Nigerians? I mean, we need to see the evidence.
It's a perfectly reasonable question to be asking. To go back to your tweet, opinion and fact are completely different. Right. It's actually quite staggering how many people don't seem to know that. But if we're looking at the World Poverty Clock statistics, and those are, verifiable, more Nigerians are living on less than $1.90 a day, and that is United Nations benchmark that's the definition of poverty. It used to be 2 years ago 77.9 million Nigerians, which is staggering in itself, and now 86.8 million as of this June, as of this month. 86.8 million Nigerians are living on less than $1.90 a day. It's such an injustice. And then we now look at the World Bank, which said a few years ago, 5 years ago, about 40%, we're hovering about the 40% mark of Nigerians living in poverty. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, it has risen to 45%. So I'm not sure where this 10 million naira claim, 10.5 million naira claim comes in. But I have to always sort of preface, well, I've already said that before, so it's not a preface, but I have to always say that I'm just personally very grateful that we're having this Democracy Day speech on June 12th at all. And the fact that the past injustices, the past history of this country, that dark chapter has been addressed, was like a healing balm to me personally. But our current day challenges must be addressed. Yes. We're not going to live life looking backwards. Just because I'm grateful for that nod to the past does not mean that the present and future challenges must not be addressed. We are a long way to go. I cannot believe I just said out of my mouth 86 million Nigerians are living in poverty. It's staggering.
Staggering. Dr. Bati.
Well, if you look at the efforts of the Buhari administration since 2015, poverty alleviation, poverty reduction have been one of the major hallmarks. And at every turn, both the president and his ministers talk about, alleviating poverty, either through the Economic Growth Recovery Plan or the National Social Investment Plan, or what they call poverty reduction through National Growth Strategy Plan. Okay, in the speech on June 12th, the president tried to provide details. And when he referred to the National Social Register, which was a strategy to document the poorest and most vulnerable households in Nigeria. That, of course, became controversial when it was rolled out in terms of coverage and in terms of how those palliatives were distributed. And then, of course, you have the conditional cash transfer plan under which people were given 5,000. And then you also had the plan by the National Ministry of Employment and Productivity, under which we saw the Minister of State for Labor distributing hoes and cutlasses and wheelbarrows as a way of, alleviating poverty with 20,000 per month for a period of 3 months. So in terms of that effort, that's what the president was referring to. But what people are querying is, okay, this number, 10.5 million people lifted out of poverty in the last 2 years. People do not believe it. And some researchers have gone ahead to do fact check what the president said. And what they have done is to benchmark it against the effect of COVID-19, which threw so many people out of job, with unemployment rate in Nigeria today at about 33.3%. With food inflation at 18.12%, with food inflation at 22.27%, headline inflation at 18.12%. Now, and then add to that the general insecurity in the country. So the argument is that 10.5 million is completely improbable, and that the evidence does not support what the president was saying. Now, the second point is that if you look at NBA statistics, even the Nigerian Bureau of the National Bureau of Statistics, does not, the statistics from the Bureau of Statistics does not suggest that, more people have been taken out of poverty. The World Bank, which Tunde mentioned earlier, says that for Nigeria to go out of poverty, right, your growth rate, your GDP growth rate must exceed your population growth rate. If Nigerian population is growing at about 2.73 to 3%, right, and you have inflation rate of 18.12%, unemployment rate of 33.3%, GDP growth of, maybe 0.51% during Q1 2021. You cannot say that, more people have been taken out of poverty. In fact, more people have gone into poverty. And which is the position of the World Poverty Clock, that since 2018, more Nigerians have slipped into extreme poverty. As Tuno said, people who live below $1.9, in the country. But in any case, beyond all of this, the evidence of our eyes shows that there is a raging epidemic of empty pockets and empty stomachs inside Nigeria. Okay? But in terms of aspiration, we cannot fault government. It's the eternal assignment of government to create wealth, prosperity, to provide the welfare for the people, and to make sure that an enabling environment is provided for people not only to be able to feed themselves, but also to be secure, to feel safe, and to have a sense of belonging. Poverty is a major crisis we face, and it is not surprising that we've been told that Nigeria has become the poverty capital of the world. We even displaced India in that regard and won a medal for poverty.
Won a medal for poverty. Rufai, your take on the story?
I was excited when you brought this story because I would like to jump on it. And let's do maths now. Let's not do sentiments. The World Bank has 3 thresholds. What we are missing is the fact that this is extreme poverty. The $1.90 a day, if you live on $1.90 a day, that means you are living in extreme poverty. There's another threshold that says $3.30 and a little over $5. So let's even say extreme poverty. Let's say, okay, let's Nigerians just going off extreme poverty mark. $1.90 a day, that's what you must earn. Multiply that by 500, which is the dollar, you get 950. Multiply that by 365 days in a year. I'll do the maths for you. An average Nigerian needs to earn, to just leave the level of extreme poverty, needs to earn 346,750 naira in a year. That's what an average Nigerian needs to earn to be able to be at the level of extreme poverty or go a little bit over extreme poverty. 346,750. Oji, I'll take you back 2 years ago. Nigeria Deposit Insurance Company did say that most Nigerians, only 2% of Nigerians have over 500,000 naira in their bank accounts. So if you are saying you need a Nigerian to earn 346,000 naira yearly to be out of extreme poverty rate, and NDIC is saying that the bank accounts they are saying, most Nigerians don't have up to 500,000. So how do you say you bring 10.5 million people out of poverty? The World Poverty Clock that Tundu quoted, and thank you, beautiful job Tundu for quoting that, says it all. 86 million people are in poverty, extreme poverty in Nigeria. But if you look down that sheet of World Poverty Clock, it puts a very instructive stats there that says rate at which you need to get off poverty. And it says Nigeria needs to get 0.3 people off poverty per minute. But what is the Nigerian current state? Nigeria has minus 4.2 people entering poverty per minute. So 4.2 people, we're supposed to get 0.3 people out of poverty per minute to be able to get off poverty. But Nigeria is putting 4.2 people into poverty every minute, according to the worldpovertyclock.io. These are the stats. These are the figures. I submit the hard evidence to anybody that said they have brought 10.5 million people out of poverty. One thing I'll tell you is that you can skew data, but facts don't lie. Mathematics is not sentiments.
Well said, Rufai. We'll take another story. The leader of the Niger Delta People's Salvation Force, Asari Dokubo, has accused the leader of the Indigenous People of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, of turning the Biafran struggle into a business. Dokubo, who made the allegation in a new video, accused the IPOB leader of diverting funds and failing to account for some funds donated for the quest for Biafra. The two activists have been at loggerheads over the struggle for Biafra. The Cold War between them resulted in the formation of the Biafra customary government, which Dokubo announced in March, with himself as the leader. This accusation is quite, staggering. I mean, he actually accused him of about 20 million naira. He had diverted that sum at that point, Nnamdi Kanu, I mean. I don't know what the accusation is all about, but it just goes to show that these types of movements within these people needs to be addressed properly, because then you lose faith in the whole, the whole movement.
Well, it's typical, isn't it? There's a sort of performative activism that some people indulge in.
Yes.
They're trying to make a name for themselves and in the process make a buck for themselves. It's got nothing to do with the cause. It happened with Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
It happened with June 12th, as I keep telling you. There's so many people who don't care. They're in it for the money. But in this case, this allegation, I feel, is so grave.
Yes.
It must be addressed. I would think that Nnamdi Kanu would actually address it and clear his name, such that his credibility is not damaged, because this is exactly what will happen if he's silent.
Dr. Batsi.
Well, you see, the structure of the struggle is such that when you have a movement, you have a group of persons, there are also certain other tendencies, forces that would like to impose, in fact, a centrifugal effect, scatter the group.
Yes.
And this may be, in terms of physical intervention, infiltration. This may also be, in the form of a quarrel over cash, resources, or position. Now, the Indigenous Peoples of Biafra, IPOB, has not been insulated from that. This is not the first time you get some kind of controversy about, Nnamdi Kanu is this, this is the authentic leader of this group, this person is no longer the authentic leader. And in the case of Asari Dokubo, in March, he set up his own group called the Biafra Customary Government.
Yes.
As a breakaway faction of IPOB. The issue here is that allegedly Nnamdi Kanu collected some money, some 200 million naira. Asari Dokubo alleges.
200 million?
Yes, but he was visited in Cotonou,
yes,
where he has a university, which he runs. And it was alleged that Asari Dokubo, was given 20 million naira.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And he says nobody gave him any 20 million naira. That instead, it is Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of IPOB, who has turned the group into a money-making venture. But the danger in this is that when you have this kind of movement, people coming together, the big thing that they have to worry about and watch out for are those centrifugal tendencies or centrifugal forces that I talked about earlier. It could be in form of a third party trying to divide the group. It could be in form of fifth columnists dividing the group. It could be, in fact, as a result of the character flaw of the persons involved who take their eyes off the ball. Isn't it curious that the same Indigenous Peoples of Biafra, a group that we've been told is looking for, justice for the people of Igbo, has now been reduced to the level of people quarreling over 20 million, 200 million. It's 20 million today. If care is not taken down the line, they will soon start quarreling over 1,000 naira.
Oh, Lord.
So, and when that happens, people, even the public, will lose sight of the ideal, and then all that argument, all that principled arguments about justice and equity for the Igbos will now become Asari Dokubo versus Nnamdi Kanu, Emma Powerful versus XYZ, and struggles, that face such dangers eventually fail.
All right, we'll take our final story. Over the weekend, Nigerians took to the streets to register their frustrations with President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in commemoration of June 12th, Democracy Day. While majority of protesters were against the current administration's handling of affairs of the nation, a group of Pro Buhari protesters in the Federal Capital Territory, while exercising their support for Buhari, were seen harassing an anti-Buhari protester at the Unity Fountain. Let's take a look.
We said
Well, in the meantime, human rights lawyer Femi Falana has asked the Nigerian police to apologize to Nigerians for violating the fundamental right of protesters to freedom of expression as enshrined in the 1999 Constitution. Rufai, I am sure you saw all of the protests going on over the weekend, the June 12th struggle. And we saw these policemen harassing Nigerians that were exercising their fundamental right.
Which they don't need to do, because people have a right to exercise their fundamental rights. These police officers, the democracy they serve under, was fought on the streets of Lagos and other parts of the country. People protested and risked their lives on in every street in every part of this country. So this democratic administration they're enjoying, it was because people protested. And everybody protests in this country. So why is there a big deal this time around? And just like they sent the Pro Buhari people protesting, but I saw a video circulating online of how those ones were fighting because of 1,000 naira. And you are shocked and say, what's happening in this country? I'm not saying people don't have a right to protest. People can protest in favor of Buhari if they want to. But protest should be from your conscience. It shouldn't be because they are sharing 1,000 naira for you and somebody will take the money and run away. It's a democracy. It's not a dictatorship. Let's stop this clampdown on people's fundamental rights. It's a democracy. And we need to respect one another. And that's what we keep calling for. And it starts with political will and leadership. I was telling some people this morning, I said there's nothing wrong with this country. It's just a problem of leadership. The day we get leadership right, all of this will settle out. We had a president in this country at some point too that never arrested people when they protest. So it's always about the leader. But the leader too should remember that he will never be there forever. Everybody should always remember that, and you will be judged by your legacies. The Yorubas have the saying that the chicken that is eaten at the funeral, you can't eat it all, because at the day, people too will eat the chicken at your own funeral. That's the way life is. So when you are there, don't victimize others. Give them their rights within the law. And people are having peaceful protests. Let them go ahead. I mean, it isn't appalling that we declared June 12th Democracy Day, public holiday, to respect democracy, and we are violating people's democratic rights.
Well, that's all we'll be able to take.
No, Tundu wanted a quick comment.
I just wanted to say, I thought it was Americans. They said, don't understand irony. That man was walking with his placard. He didn't do anything. He should not have been accosted. And the police should not have arrested anybody and fired tear gas. It's just
really
wrong.
Terrible. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I will see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Oji.
Thank you, Oji. Femi Falana is asking the police to apologize.
Yes.
Because the police have also violated their own Establishment Act under Section 83, subsection 4, in addition to the violation of fundamental human rights. Thank you.